There's a good chance that your mitochondria is being damaged. So if you don't fix it, you're going to continue becoming more sick and more tired. Today, we're going to talk about what we're going to do to stop your mitochondria from being wrecked.
You're watching the Dr. Jake podcast.
I'm Dr. Jake. I'm an naturopathic medical doctor and integrative physician in Salt Lake City, Utah. On this channel, I share with you how we can heal your body without any drugs or surgery and get your energy back. Be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. I recently filmed a podcast with my co-host, Teresa Marie, in which we talked about the mitochondria and what is damaged in the mitochondria and what we can do to actually heal it. Mitochondria is a part of our cell, so a lot of us might have heard like the nucleus, and then probably the top one you hear about is the mitochondria. The nucleus is like this foreman telling the mitochondria what to do. The mitochondria is the factory actually doing stuff. So it's all the factory workers getting all the work done. So let's say our factory workers go on a strike and they decide that they're not going to work very well anymore. Doesn't matter what the nucleus says, and the foreman say, hey, work, work, work. Workers are not going to work and nothing gets done. And that's what's happening with our cells. Our mitochondria is getting damaged by all these different insults. And then our cells aren't able to work optimally. And that's going to lead to us being extremely fatigued, brain foggy, and many other symptoms related to when we get our mitochondria damaged. Most of the time, if we do have mitochondrial trauma, it's going to be systemic. So it's going to be affecting all organs throughout our body. Now, you can damage the mitochondria if you just have some form of trauma that happens to a specific organ, and that will cause that. But mostly what I'm talking about when I say mitochondrial damage, it's a systemic thing, and it's happening all the time. The first one I want to start with is it's not necessarily something you're absolutely doing that's causing damage to the mitochondria. It is that we have these chronic infections in our body that can reactivate. Now, this reactivation of these bugs usually is from some stressful events or taking certain medications that are suppressing the immune system or causing damage to the gut, etc., are causing reactivation of, like, say, chronic Epstein-Barr virus or cytomegalovirus or mycoplasma pneumoniae. All these type of bugs can cause damage to our mitochondria and cause it to not work appropriately. So you're just living your life normally, going about, interacting with people, and then you get this infection, like say Epstein-Barr virus. Usually you clear it and then it goes dormant. And then what can happen from some anxious event or a lot of stress you're going through or a traumatic event, it reactivates. And then it causes that damage to our mitochondria. And that damage to the mitochondria never goes away, even if you clear the reactivation of Epstein-Barr virus. So secondary one I want to talk about is this is something that we are doing is the type of food that we're eating. We're eating a lot of pesticides or herbicides or glyphosate. So glyphosate is what is put on a lot of grains, especially wheat. Another name for it is called Roundup. Maybe a lot of us don't really think of this, is that on our wheat, for us to make the wheat all brown at one time, the farmers spray a lot of Roundup or glyphosate on the wheat, make it brown, so they're able to chop it all up again. So if we're eating a lot of grain products or wheat products, like most of us are doing, we're getting a ton of glyphosate, and this is a major mitochondria damager. It is going to hurt it really bad and make it not work appropriately. And then we're eating our herbicides and pesticides all the time also. So the food we eat is definitely affecting how our mitochondria is working. Third is heavy metal exposure. So you could maybe got exposed to it when you were really young, lead paints or dental amalgams, or you just lived in an area that had high amounts of lead in the soil, and you either got it on your hands, you got it in your mouth, or got into your food supply that you were in, and then you were taking it in that way, or you had an area that was high in arsenic or cadmium or whatever. You don't know really what's in your soil, what's in the air, so you get exposed to heavy metals, and that could be causing a lot of damage to our mitochondria also. Another reason for mitochondrial trauma is oxidative stress. This is a fancy way of saying that it's causing this chronic damage, inflammation throughout our entire body. And the major damage that oxidative stress does is our mitochondria throughout our entire body. So oxidative stress is why we love antioxidants, okay? Our body's always making these reactive oxygen species. And so we have oxygen, we need oxygen to make energy, but then it makes these oxidative stress particles, a reactive oxygen species, and we need to take care of that. So one way to clear this oxidative stress, it takes antioxidants that all of us know about, the blueberries, the acai, and personally my favorite is glutathione to decrease this oxidative stress that's happening throughout the body. Another one big one too is, let's say we have a thyroid thing going on. The reason why we feel fatigue, brain fog, etc., from having hypothyroidism or underfunctioning thyroid is the thyroid is our main little signaler that will tell the mitochondria what it needs to do to make energy production. So if we have a thyroid issue, we're not going to make our mitochondria is not going to work very well, and it's not going to function appropriately, and that's going to make your mitochondria get damaged also. Many times what we think about aging, and a lot of people that are aging, they talk about these symptoms. They many times talk about that they are tired, that they have some brain fog, they're not able to think as well, and then they have muscle and joint pains. These are the three top ones that are mitochondria. But like we said, mitochondria affects every tiny little cell throughout the body. So it's going to affect the brain, the heart, the muscles, the kidneys, the liver. All this is going to have a myriad of symptoms. So you're going to have all kinds of symptoms going on with mitochondrial trauma. But the three ones that I like to just to specify with the mitochondria are those three. And as we age, our mitochondria gets damaged. And the reason why we age and many of our bodily functions don't work very well is because of this mitochondrial trauma. Interesting enough, as we age, we decrease glutathione, which is one of our best antioxidants to decrease the oxidative stress. A lot of the aging process is this oxidative stress that's happening in the body, causing damage to the mitochondria, leading to the age symptoms that a lot of people dread, and they say, I hate aging. And we can help prevent some of this aging effects by improving our mitochondrial function. There are a lot of companies coming out and a lot of scientists trying to find out if we can do great tests to figure out how the mitochondria works. Now, we have pretty good tests, but nothing specific saying, oh, this area of the mitochondria, your mitochondria is really trashed. A couple that I check to see if the mitochondria is working is I check something very basic. It's a lactate dehydrogenase. This tells me how the cell is working. And when that's high, it's telling me your mitochondria is not working very well. We also like to order some liver enzyme tests that will tell us some, like a GGT is a major test that I like to order. It's not just a liver test. Many of us in the medical community order GGT, oh, we think gallbladder issues, but it's all throughout our entire body. And when that's not working very well, our mitochondria is not working very well and telling us that there's some mitochondrial trauma. So those are the two top ones. There are some more specialized tests being done. I don't trust them right now. This research is a little shady. You'll probably see them if you start searching them. They test this to test your mitochondria. We don't really have great testing at this time. So number one is we need to stop eating a lot of junk. So we need to stop eating a lot of herbicides, pesticides, really try to limit the glyphosates that are in our food. So we want to try to eat as organic as possible. Sometimes it can be out of the financial means of some people, and sometimes it's a waste of money to get some organic foods because they don't have a lot of herbicides or pesticides. So I like to refer to the environmental working group that has done a lot of the work for me. They have something called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So I can know, okay, I don't really need to eat avocados organic because they're not really sprayed a lot. I don't really need to eat bananas very much because they're not sprayed very much. And then I really probably shouldn't eat a lot of these berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, because they're sprayed like crazy. So it can kind of help you know what ones to actually take out of your diet, what ones you don't need to waste your money on. And then there's things in between. Me personally, I like to eat majority of the foods that are organic, but if foods that I know that aren't sprayed very much, I try to stay away from these. And these are really going to help keep, if you do this, your cells are going to stay stronger and you're not going to have as much trauma to your mitochondria. And also we could take certain supplements that can help support our mitochondrial function, like carnitine or glutathione or alpha lipoic acid and CoQ10. These are all nutrients that are easily available that you can get in supplemental form that can be very beneficial for healing your mitochondria once they are damaged. But you need to make sure you stay away from these things that you're taking in that are causing the damage. One way you could get all this gunk out, let's say you've taken a lot of glyphosate, many times it does store in our tissues, like our fat and our muscle, et cetera, and inside our other cells. is we could do a detoxification. So we could do a liver detox, we could do a GI detox, or my favorite way is really sweating, is like get an infrared sauna or other source to really get a good sweat going. And that's going to help pull out that glyphosate and other herbicides, pesticides that are still hanging out in your body. It's not just food, there's things you're putting on your skin or what you're breathing in. So to help support like your air quality is I recommend that you get a good air filter in your home and make sure that it's regularly changed. And there's many HEPA filters that are really good on helping clear out the air in your home. Many times, if you're not cleaning the air in your home, it's dirtier than the air that is outside. Let's say you're in a place that has a lot poor air quality, and then you're just like, oh, I'm good, I'm inside my house. That's actually a little worse because whenever you open the door, it goes in there and it just stays and stagnates. So you want to have a good circulation in your home and a good air filter to clear that out. And then you want to try to get the cleanest products you can, what you're putting on your hair or your face or your makeup or the soaps. What I tell my patients, if you don't understand what's being said, probably don't put that on your body. Try to put the cleanest stuff you can in there. Again, I refer a lot to Environmental Working Group again, because they have rating systems on a lot of makeups and shampoos and sunscreens and all this type of stuff of what is actually good, what's toxic and what isn't toxic. And they have all the brands on there. So that is really helpful too for me and what I suggest to many of my patients. It really all depends on how much trauma has really happened to the body. So let's say you've been eating a lot of herbicides, pesticides, you have a lot of heavy metals. Let's say also you have these chronic infections, or let's say your thyroid's not working well. So you have a ton going on. You've had a lot of trauma happening to your mitochondria. So that will take 6 to 12 months to heal up. But let's say most of your trauma has only happened from the type of foods that you're eating. Like you've eaten glyphosates, you've had herbicides, pesticides, and that's really where a lot of your trauma is coming. Your mitochondria will heal within 2 or 3 months if you're actually doing an intensive protocol and doing the appropriate dosage of certain nutrients and antioxidants to help support the mitochondrial function. So like we said, we talked about a few supplements. We'll talk about some of them again. Glutathione, acetyl L-carnitine. I'm very specific on acetyl L-carnitine, not carnitine by itself. It's much more absorbable form if you're doing it orally. Alpha lipoic acid. The best form is really R-alpha lipoic acid. And then CoQ10. You want to make sure you get a good quality CoQ10. It is a fat soluble substance. So you want to make sure it's like in a fat source when you're taking it to make sure it gets absorbed appropriately. You also want to be taking a lot of antioxidants. So glutathione is a great antioxidant. It's one of my favorite ones, but you want to be eating foods that are high in antioxidants. So you want to be eating some of the famous ones, the blueberries, the acai berry, but there's a lot of other things that are high in antioxidants like chocolate. Oh, our best friend chocolate, but you want to make sure you're not getting a ton of sugar in there. You want to get like a dark chocolate, and that's going to be really beneficial in getting the antioxidants in there too. There's a lot of medicinal mushrooms that are really high in antioxidants. I created a drink, Terra Brew, that has a lot of these in there that are really great on boosting that antioxidant capability, like cordyceps and reishi mushrooms and lion's mane and chaga. These are all awesome antioxidants to decrease this oxidative load that is always happening on our body. So the more antioxidants usually is the better. I mean, sometimes you could overload it. We do need some oxidative processes happen in our body. Like that's how we kill off bugs and infections, for example, is through this oxidative process. So you don't want to be going too crazy on the antioxidants, but it's pretty hard to really do that. And this is some ways that you can really help support your mitochondria getting working better. And you want to make sure you're always detoxing, making sure your liver's working appropriately, your kidneys working better. You want to make sure you're not constipated, because if you're constipated, guess what? You're blocking up one of your main detoxification mechanisms. So you want to make sure you're having a bowel movement at least once a day, better like 2 or 3 times a day, to really make sure you're detoxing and keeping your mitochondria happy. If you want to learn more about the mitochondria or many subjects like this one, click my video to the right. I'm Dr. Jake, and I'll see you there.